You want to get an edge on turning back the clock with just a few pills? Who doesn't? Well, it's no longer science fiction, but science possibility, a potential breakthrough. As I found out firsthand, there may be a way to erase years, at least inside my body. Granted, it's down the road, but some scientists are wondering if a new pill I took might offer a very long life. It may not look like the fountain of youth, but inside this nondescript building, I'm about to become part of an exciting experiment, a kind of guinea pig.
Dr. McCord, okay.
I'm here at the University of Colorado in Denver to meet Dr. Joe McCord, a world-renowned scientist.
This is pretty exciting stuff you're finding, huh?
It is. We're very excited about it.
His latest research could very well unravel the mystery of aging itself. And his decades of experiments may have the potential of adding years to people's lives and possibly prevent chronic diseases like cancer, diabetes, and heart disease. It all centers around this small yellow pill, and for me, it begins with a blood test.
Can we scoop? Yeah, there we go.
It wouldn't be the first time I've given blood for this company.
They want to check my levels of something called T-bars, which is a rough indicator of a person's actual age. T-bars can identify a condition known as oxidative stress, a kind of measure of the wear and tear on our bodies. Oxidative stress, like the rusting of an engine, is not a good thing.
Bad for the body.
Leading to disease.
Leading to disease and leading to malfunction, and importantly, leading to what we call aging. It is a slow progression of increasing oxidative stress. That's the main characteristic biochemically of the aging process.
The problem of aging begins with the very food we eat to give us energy. As our cells burn that food, they also release toxic chemicals. Those chemicals, you may know them as free radicals, react with all the components of our cells, literally bombarding them millions of times per second, damaging all our cells. The result? Oxidative stress, and we all have it. The body fights back with a system of defenses. It makes two antioxidant enzymes, catalase and SOD, whose job is to gobble up the free radicals before they can harm our cells. But as we get older, some of those toxic radicals overwhelm our enzymes and wreak their havoc. For a long time, scientists thought that antioxidant vitamins like C and E would lower it, but they don't.
As it's turned out in just the last 5 years or so, we see that they're not good enough tools. They're not powerful enough.
But this pill, he says, is powerful enough. In fact, many times more powerful.
So, doctor, how often do I take these?
And so, here I go. With that swallow, I've just become part of a potentially landmark scientific experiment.
Doesn't taste bad.
It's called Protandim, and tests on both mice and humans have already shown that it revs up the manufacture of those good enzymes in our bodies. More enzymes, fewer free radicals to harm us. Whether that will lead to longer life is still unknown. Experiments to see if mice live longer are about to get underway, but it's a tantalizing theory.
Right now, all we know is that this preparation decreases oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is not a disease, just like aging is not in itself a disease, but it's something that accompanies and is attached to many disease processes.
Have you discovered the fountain of youth?
I wouldn't put it that way, but we may have discovered something that will tell us a lot more about how we age, what happens biochemically, and maybe how we can slow it down. So you can see the age-related.
Normally, oxidative stress, measured by those T-bars, increases with age. But in Dr. McCord's tests, taking just one pill of Protandim a day reversed that trend for everyone at every age, even for an 80-year-old.
They all are reduced to the level of oxidative stress that one would expect, frankly, in a newborn or a very young child.
Back to the oxidative stress levels of a child? It sounds too good to be true. Will Protandim work on me? But what about my progress? After nearly 2 weeks now, it's time to get my results. Dr. McCord calculates the numbers. The result? My level of oxidative stress has declined dramatically.
45%, that's excellent.
Just look at where I fall on the graph, before and after.
which if extrapolated back is the level you would see in a newborn baby.
Have we turned back the clock? Well, maybe not on the outside, but deep inside within my cells. Yes, indeed. The company that makes Protandim says its tests show the pill, made from ingredients used for centuries, is absolutely safe. But because it's being sold as a nutritional supplement and not a drug, Protandim does not need FDA approval for safety. For more, go to our website at abcnews.com.
So, the reason that I got involved with this company was first and foremost the science behind the product was just something that I had never seen from a nutritional supplement company before. Now, there's a lot of companies out there that have supplements, but none of them have the science behind them that Protandim does. And when I started looking through the studies, first the T-bar study, and then the muscular dystrophy study, the skin cancer study, and then I got to the one that was in circulation. That was the one that really caught my attention. Being a cardiologist, I know that Circulation is the premier journal for the American Heart Association, and it takes rock-solid research to get published in that journal. You can't have fly-by-night sham research with some fly-by-night product, because the people that sit on the editorial board of Circulation are some of the top people in the world in the cardiovascular arena. And these are ivory tower, university-type people who sit around and pontificate about studies and how they should be done over and over and over. And they go through their studies with a fine-tooth comb. So when I saw that a supplement got published in Circulation, I thought, wow, there's really something to this. And furthermore, that article that was in Circulation, the one that was about congestive heart failure, was the first time Circulation had ever published a study on a supplement. They've never done that before. And this was huge because this was a branded supplement. This wasn't just the individual ingredients of Protandim. It was actually Protandim itself. So that really got my attention. And then when I saw what the results of that study were, the fact that it prevented the development of congestive heart failure from a condition that should have universally caused congestive heart failure, I thought, this is something that really has some legs, and in the right hands with the right people doing the right studies, this could be a medical breakthrough for the cardiology community, because we have a lot of drugs that we use to treat congestive heart failure, but nothing that prevents the fibrosis, the scar tissue formation within the heart muscle, and so forth. And so this could be kind of the next quantum leap in the treatment of congestive heart failure. And then when the study came out with these bypass grafts, I was just blown away again, because everybody knows somebody who's had bypass surgery before. And the problem with bypass grafts is about 8 to 10 years after they're put in, they start to close down. And then typically we're looking at having to put in stents or do a repeat bypass operation. And we haven't really had anything up to this point that can prevent that from happening, that process of blockage buildup, because it's all due to the fact that veins were never designed to carry arterial oxygen levels or arterial oxygen pressures. Veins carry pressures that are 20 millimeters of mercury, and arteries carry pressures that are 120 to 150 millimeters of mercury. And furthermore, the oxygen level in veins is about half or lower as to what it is in an artery. So when the veins are subjected to the arterial load, they can't handle it, and they get, as Dr. McCord said, intimal hyperplasia. Well, the fact that Protandim completely prevented the intimal hyperplasia was huge. I mean, this could certainly be a therapy that we can utilize for patients who have had bypass surgery to help make their bypass grafts last longer. So, the potential, I lay in bed at night and I think about all of the potential studies that could be done with Protandim on all sorts of cardiovascular diseases, not to mention cancer and inflammatory conditions and so forth. Since I'm a cardiologist, I think like one, and I think blood vessels and heart, and I think of all the things that we could potentially study with this, and I'm just on fire about it, and I want to talk to Dr. McCord and say, Dr. McCord, let's sit down and design these studies, get them done, and then present them to the FDA. And I think that if we are successful in doing that, which I believe we can be, we can get the FDA to be able to say, yes, you can say this and that about Protandim, that it can be used to treat X, Y, and Z problems. We're not to that point yet, but I think that we are going to get there. And with healthcare changing as it is, we're all aware of that, and we know it was the focus of the last election. myself, being a cardiologist, I've seen my income drop every year for the last 5 years. And it's not because I'm not working any harder. One of my partners says, every year I work 10% harder and take home 10% less money. So physicians around the country are feeling that. And they're looking for some alternative source of income to offset the drop that they're seeing. You know, and ideally I would like to hopefully at some point move to more of a preventive cardiology practice rather than the grind that I'm in right now where I take call and so forth. Yeah, it's fun, but it gets old as you get older. It's harder to stay up all night and take care of those sick people who are doing all sorts of bad things in the middle of the night. And I thought, you know, this is the ideal vehicle for me to be able to, number one, move into preventive cardiology, maintain some kind of an income that I can actually do that and not take a big hit. And the Protandim in and of itself is just a perfect product for preventive cardiology or preventive anything type of medicine. So that's kind of in a nutshell why I got involved and what got me excited about it.
This is a monumental development, and when you look at it, you try to put it in perspective, it's difficult to do without comparing it to other developments in medicine. Because what you're looking at is the genes that control the aging process. When you look at the body, it ages, and we've always wondered, why does our hair turn gray? What does it fall out? What is our skin? And there's been a development of what we call age management medicine that has looked at this, but McCord went and actually got at the cellular level and said, okay, it's free radicals, guys. We know this is a part of the disease process that is ubiquitous. In other words, this is way, way upstream. We don't need to hit it with a bazooka. We don't need to give this person steroids. We don't need to do these drugs that slow their heart rate and give the guy Viagra and the woman the Prozac. What we need to do is start looking upstream. How did this occur? How did this rust get into the brain? How did this rust get into the heart? How did it get into the pancreas? And then see if we can go ahead and flip the switch.
Why would I get into this with the fever I got into this? Here's why. This is the only supplement that has 29 medical schools doing research on it. The only one on the globe. There's no other supplement with one medical school doing research on it, and it's very important you remember this, with their own money. They run from $30 to $90 million each for a clinical, peer-reviewed study. And most drug companies, most supplement companies have to pay for them, and most can't afford it. The drug companies can, the supplements usually can't. This one, we don't pay a penny. We give them the Protandim, and Harvard and LSU and Ohio State, Michigan University, Michigan State, Florida State, they're all doing it on their own money. And I had a lady ask me, why would they do this? Here's a great question, because there's about 40 to 60 biochemists in the whole mix-up that's doing the research, along with some pharmacologists, and they see the potential of this like no other supplement that's ever been put on the market.
And kind of honored to be working with really high-level scientists who put together a non-prescription supplement that really turns on the genes to make antioxidants. So it's kind of a revolutionary idea. As opposed to just taking vitamin C and vitamin E and those antioxidants that we're all used to, this is actually turning on the DNA, gaining control over our genetic destiny to allow us to have more antioxidants, reduce inflammation, and that is really a key for the key players in aging, as described by Dr. Denham Harman back in 1958, are these production of what are called free radicals. And the target then is to reduce free radical damage. Free radicals are things made during normal metabolism. The problem is they damage our DNA, they damage our fats, they damage our proteins, which you can actually measure in the laboratory. And the exciting thing about Protandim is, again, go back to the laboratory and you can see that it reduces the damage to those really important vital tissues.
I thought, you know, this is the ideal vehicle for me to be able to, number one, move into preventive cardiology, maintain some kind of an income that I can actually do that and not take a big hit. And the Protandim in and of itself is just a perfect product for preventive cardiology or preventive anything type of medicine. So that's kind of in a nutshell why I got involved and what got me excited about it.